Hey guys, welcome to the Catch-Up Review. In this, I'm going to be talking about Elvis, Top Gun Maverick, and Obi Wan-Kenobi. So I saw Elvis a while back. A lot of this is stuff that I saw some time ago and I just never got around to reviewing. But Elvis was really great. I really liked the film. It was better than I expected. We've gotten a lot of music biopics recently with Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man. I liked both of those. And there's sort of this fear that it's just gonna get into the formula of what we expect from a biopic when you've got movies like Dewey Cox, Walk Hard. You sort of see all of the cliches pinpointed and you hope that they're not repeated in future biopics. And this I really enjoyed, even though some of the things that you come to expect in biopics are in here. It was really great, and it felt like really focus on a one singular human being that I liked a lot. Austin Butler as Elvis is really great, and he really becomes you don't not see him as Elvis. He really works as Elvis, even though he doesn't really look like him. The way he acts, and then of course the addition of prosthetics as he ages and gets older, is very seamless, and you don't really notice it. It's sort of a shock when you go back to see him earlier in the film and see how different he looks and how the magic trick was done so seamlessly. You do get a lot of stuff with him and his mom, and him with his wife Priscilla, and their sort of issues in their relationship, and how weird it was for him to go through all of this. I think Baz Luhrmann's direction was good. The intro was really intense, and I didn't really like how sort of in-your-face ADHD it was. But after a while, it sort of calmed down, and there's also the use of modern music that I wasn't sure how I felt about it early on, but I heard my brother and other people talk about how it showed sort of what the modern-day equivalent of that extreme of music was. Like him shaking his hips back in the day, was a big deal, a way that it isn't now. And now we have, whatever our modern day equivalent to that is in terms of, dancing being seen as overly sexualized. Tom Hanks was also interesting in the movie. I don't know how I feel about his performance. I don't think it was necessarily bad. It's just kind of hammy, but I was pretty accepting of his performance, I guess. Dacre Montgomery was also in the film, and it's weird seeing him play a good guy after his role as Billy on Stranger Things. But yeah, Elvis was a really enjoyable film. I like seeing the way that the events of the world at the time during the 60s sort of affected him mentally, and how he wanted to make change because of those events. So yeah, Elvis overall was really good. Probably in my top 5 of the year at the moment. I've got some other things here and there that I still haven't seen that I want to put in there. But yeah, Elvis I did enjoy quite a bit. So moving on to Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was so much better than it had any right to be. I didn't watch the original Top Gun until a few months before Maverick came out. And it was really cheesy, but I liked it as a time capsule of the 80s. It's very soap opera-like, and I really like that. But the sort of Flight Academy mission stuff I don't think meshes very well with the romantic aspects of that film. Whereas in this film, the tensity of the mission and its difficulty really elevates all of the human drama stuff. Tom Cruise is really great in the movie. Him and his connection with Penny, Jennifer Connelly's character, who was referenced in the original film, that was all really strong. And the same thing with his relationship with Rooster, who is Goose's son. That was all really strong and made the tension of the mission very strong. The movie has a very classic feel to it. I feel like I've seen movies like this from like the 80s, like Top Gun, I guess, but it felt like it was being shown to us in modern day. And all of the aerial dogfighting stuff is spectacular, and it, like in the first film, it's like, it's fine, but they do some really crazy exciting stuff in this film, especially during the finale, that make you feel the tension. A lot of it is due to the sound design, which is really great, and it was so great hearing that in the theater. I was scared that I wasn't gonna be able to see this in the theater before it left. But yeah, all of that was just really strong, and you could tell that the people that made this film put 100% effort into the film, and made it better than the first film, in my opinion. It was also really cool seeing all of the stuff with Iceman and how they incorporated Val Kilmer and his tragic condition at the moment into the film in a way that was very emotional, and how Maverick and Iceman's sort of bonds worked in the movie in a way that I wasn't sure they were going to be able to do with Val Kilmer. Just overall, a really strong film, easily my top 3 of the year. It was just a great experience, and I was like watching it. I'm like, how is the Top Gun sequel this good? But it is. It's just insanely good, and I'm so grateful that it got made and that people went to go see it. That's really cool. So now moving on to Obi Wan-Kenobi. I watched Obi Wan-Kenobi as it came out weekly, and I think overall the show is fine. And I really hate saying that because I want it to be great. I really enjoyed the first episode. I liked Obi-Wan just being on Tatooine, being sad, being depressed after the events of episode 3. And then the show it goes in a road that was a lot fluffier and lighter than I wanted it to be. Basically, if you've seen the show, he is like hanging out with 10-year-old Leia, and it's way lighter than I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be heavy. I wanted it to be depressing. It's just sort of felt like every week was just like, oh, they're going on a fun little adventure, and I didn't really want that. Leia is not a character I wanted on the show. Darth Vader is not a character I wanted on the show. I just wanted Obi-Wan on the desert alone. I wanted it to be like Logan or like Doctor Sleep. And if you've seen Doctor Sleep, it's Ewan McGregor playing a character that's really, really depressed and finding his purpose again. And that's what I wanted for Obi-Wan Kenobi to do. I thought that would have been really cool. There's a lot of stuff in the expanded material where you see Obi-Wan and Tatooine by himself, and it's really powerful. And I wanted this to be much smaller and more introspective and more of a character study than the adventure it was, basically. I didn't really like the idea of Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine and going on this crazy adventure and all that stuff. And again, this is what I want versus what the show presented, but this feels like an instance where the show thought it needed to be, I guess, epic in a way that I don't think it needed to be. And I feel like Obi-Wan going on this like crazy adventure was not as good as just if he had stayed on Tatooine and had sort of dealt with what he was going through with the failure of the training of Anakin. So overall, I do think the show is fine, but I'm going to get into more specific stuff. Firstly, it's weird that Leia in A New Hope is like doesn't know who Obi-Wan is. Like, she speaks to him as if they've never met. I've heard some arguments about it that I can sort of bend my mind around, that she's like trying to guilt him into doing, helping him out and stuff like that. But I still think it's like you really have to jump through some like mental hoops to come to that conclusion. And it's like the writers were like, it's okay, whatever, like we just want Leia and Obi-Wan to meet, without like really thinking, was this necessary? And I feel the same exact way about Darth Vader being on the show. It's like they wanted to have this like cool rematch, and I wanted to bring Hayden Christensen back, and seeing Hayden Christensen in the flashback was awesome. I really like seeing both of them pre Attack of the Clones and how that related to what was going on. But in A New Hope, Obi-Wan and Vader have their conversation, and then Vader's like, when I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master. Again, he doesn't leave him for the second time. And it feels like, I've heard people say Obi-Wan Kenobi feels like a remake of Revenge of the Sith, where essentially the fight ends in the same way. I did like Obi-Wan sort of dealing with the guilt and learning to let go and realize, I love in the final episode when Vader says, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. That was really great. I love that. And they repeat Rebels by having his helmets get split. I don't know how I feel about that, but whatever. And then him calling him Darth like he does in the original Star Wars, that was all really cool, I guess. I didn't like Reva as a character. I thought she wasn't intimidating at all. I thought the idea for her was interesting, of her being a Padawan that Vader didn't kill off, and that she's like rising through the ranks of the Empire to destroy him, but she herself, through becoming an Imperial and Inquisitor, is becoming what she wants to destroy. That's an interesting idea, but I just didn't find her very intimidating, and not because of her Jedi ways, just because, I don't know, I just didn't find her to be that threatening, and I feel like she should have been further down the rabbit hole of evil madness earlier on, especially when she's trying to interrogate Leia. Like, I get that Leia is Force sensitive and all this stuff, but I just didn't really feel that strongly about Reva not being able to interrogate Leia, you know? And then the Grand Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels is also on the show, and people were making fun of his design because he looks stupid. And it also, again, makes no sense because we've seen his species in Revenge of the Sith, and he looks nothing like that. I don't know if they're going to retcon him so he's not a Powin like he is on Star Wars Rebels, but I don't know. It looks stupid. I don't know why they didn't just go with the design that we see with Mian Tedon and all those other Powin characters from Revenge of the Sith, who Obi-Wan also met. So he met, the species before. But, then he gets stabbed, and then he ends up being alive. And then this goes into, most of my problems are in episode 5, so we're going to go into episode 5. I don't understand why Vader didn't kill Reva. That felt so out of character, in my opinion. Basically, if you've looked at any of the expanded material, which, I mean, who knows if it even really counts when they're writing these things. But if you find out Vader's Anakin, he's going to kill you. The only people he's cool with knowing are Palpatine and Thrawn and Tarkin, basically. Those are the only ones he's fine with knowing. And to have that he lets her live makes absolutely no sense to me. It felt so wrong. And again, a lot of my problems are in this episode. The coincidences that lead for Reva to find out that Luke is on Tatooine, it's laughable, really, because you've got Bail Organa sends a message to Obi-Wan saying he knows about the kids. I don't want him to find out about the kids, especially not the one on Tatooine. So the message itself is idiotic and makes absolutely no sense. But it's also weird because it seems like the writers are implying that Bail knows that Darth Vader's Anakin, which he should not know, especially because Obi-Wan did not know. So there's no logic in that. The only way I can sort of wrap my mind around it is if Bail is aware that Darth Vader is a Jedi hunter and that these kids that he doesn't realize are Darth Vader's kids, he being Organa, would be in danger of Darth Vader coming for them. That's the only thing I can think of. But anyway, that stupid message is sent, and then Obi-Wan, because the plot needs it to happen, gives all of his stuff to Haja, Kumail Nanjiani's character. I believe his name's Haja. A character that I actually did really enjoy. And then Haja drops Obi-Wan's communicator, looks down and sees that he drops it, and then keeps walking. And then Reva, after not getting killed by Darth Vader, another coincidence in my opinion, sees that the message is flickering, and it happens to flicker the parts of the message that will allow her to know that Luke is on Tatooine, and she can go there and kill him to prevent basically another Anakin Skywalker from happening. It's just like 5 coincidences in a row, and I think it's ridiculous. And also, it seems like Bail knows that Darth Vader's Anakin, but maybe he doesn't. I don't know. So yeah, I just thought that was ridiculous, and that was really when the show was losing me. I was like, man, why couldn't this just been Obi-Wan and Tatooine just being sad for 6 episodes and like dealing with Qui-Gon, and maybe we can see flashbacks and stuff like that. Maybe like a Hutt related incident with them like taking Luke on Tatooine, that would have been fine. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I don't know, it's just, that's the one where it lost me. And then episode 6 I was underwhelmed and annoyed because the Darth Vader stuff with Obi-Wan, the rematch, to backtrack a bit. The fight with Obi-Wan and Vader the first time in the series, I thought was pretty good. There was some awkward lightsaber stuff in there, but I thought that was pretty good, and they made Vader very intimidating when he breaks that kid's neck. That was insane. I did really enjoy that. But then, now jumping back to the final fight, the rematch, it was not as epic as they were making it out to be, and I really, really disliked that it happened before the Reva stuff was concluded. Just because it felt like Obi-Wan versus Anakin should have been the ending of the series. Like, I thought that's what the show was going to be about. But then it's like, oh no, we took out Darth Vader, and then we're going to move on to this other villain that I don't personally find very compelling. The story on paper for her is compelling, but the execution I don't think was. And that's exactly how I feel about Anakin in the prequels. On paper, that's a great story, but in the actual movies, it just doesn't work. And of course, the Clone Wars TV show helped to enhance it. So yeah, I don't know. I was just really mad when Reva was dealt with after Vader, and it feels very clear that Disney's trying to like spin her off into her own thing where she becomes a Jedi, I guess, again. I don't know. But yeah, and again, it's nothing to do with the actress, because I've seen Moses Ingram on Queen's Gambit, and she's really good on that. It's not about her acting ability, it's about how the character is written. I don't find her very compelling, and it's very frustrating. I feel like there was a much better Obi-Wan TV show there, whether it was made by Mike Flanagan, who made Doctor Sleep, or it was made by James Mangold, who did Logan. I feel like that should have been what Obi-Wan Kenobi was, and the show was much more adventurous than I wanted it to be, and more like, oh, this is fun Star Wars, like cool stuff. I mean, there was some good stuff here and there. I didn't mention this, but I really like when Obi-Wan infiltrates the Fortress Inquisitorius, and he's like doing his, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace style prequel lightsaber fighting against the stormtroopers instead of battle droids. And when the lights go off and he takes out the two stormtroopers, that was really cool. Also, the Quinlan Vos reference was great. It was interesting seeing all of those Jedi in like the amber or the sap or whatever it was. And we did see that one like old dinosaur Jedi that was with Ahsoka in that one Clone Wars episode where she's like punished. And then I think it's a shapeshifter takes her lightsaber, but maybe I'm wrong. Or no, it was like some weird Ayla Secura style alien, I think. I don't know. Or saying not Ayla Secura. And again, another random thing I'm going to put in here, but there's some stormtrooper combat in here with people taking out stormtroopers that's absolutely embarrassing. With Obi-Wan's lady friend, I forgot what her name was, the woman who was on Game of Thrones. She like slaps a stormtrooper and he goes down, and it happens again when she gets killed. That was all, I don't know, it was just really lame. Like, people have like joked about it, and it just wasn't very good. I also felt it was weird that they mentioned that the big yellow robot couldn't speak, and then Leia's like, well, what if he has something to say? And then it just never comes into play again. It felt like they were setting something up, and it just did nothing with it. So yeah, overall, I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi was fine, I guess. I disliked it more than I liked it. I liked the connections to the prequels as someone who does not like the prequels. It was cool seeing Qui-Gon. It was cool seeing, young, quote-unquote young Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. I liked Obi-Wan being reminded of Padme when looking at Leia, that sort of stuff. But yeah, overall, I thought the show was underwhelming, and I'm kind of burnt out on Star Wars. I hope Cassian's good, but yeah, it is frustrating watching this show thinking like it could have been a lot better, especially when you look at the expanded material. The Obi-Wan Kenobi comics in between 3 and 4 are much better, and it's just him like walking through the desert. I really enjoy that. But yeah, whatever, it was fine. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Elvis, Top Gun Maverick, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Thanks so much for listening. I'm gonna have more reviews soon. I saw Nope twice, and I'm still digesting it, and I'm gonna have a review for that soon, as well as a bunch of superhero stuff. I didn't talk about The Boys Season 3, I didn't talk about Thor Love and Thunder, I didn't talk about Miss Marvel. Those will also be 3 in 1 video. So yeah, thanks so much for listening, and have a good one.